Xbox versus PlayStation. This war has been raging since many years. Xbox players hate PlayStation, PlayStation players hate Xbox. But why? Both of them have the same purpose, running video games, but still, why do they hate each other? Let's find out in this video. Hey guys, welcome back to Rogue Gamer UV. Today I'm going to talk about the Xbox versus PlayStation war. So without any further delay, let's begin. So there are different reasons that are the main cause of this war. So let's move on to the first reason. The first reason is that they are totally different console. They have different design, they are manufactured by totally different company and they require different accounts to work. If you want to play on a PlayStation, then you will need a PlayStation account. If you want to play on an Xbox, then you will need a Microsoft account. Now, if moving on to the advanced, high-tech stuff, then there are a lot of differences. The biggest difference is the CPU, GPU, RAM, storage, and capability of playing games at higher resolution. Xbox consoles usually have better specs so that some games can run at 60 FPS. But console players don't care about specs, and companies make a profit out of it. It's easy to sell 90% of your stock when your customers don't know a thing about specs and graphics. People are doing comparison of Xbox performance and graphics versus PlayStation performance and graphics. You will find hundreds of these videos, but to be honest, it's logicless. Both of them have the same graphics and frame rate. People usually comment that PlayStation has better shadows, Xbox has better lighting effects. It's logicless. The second reason is the exclusive games. Since Xbox and PlayStation are different consoles, they have different exclusive games. Xbox got Halo, an action shooter game, Forza Horizon and Forza Motorsport, a truly immersive racing game, Gears of War, another action shooter game, State of Decay, a zombie survival game, and that's it. That's all Xbox got. Meanwhile, PlayStation got a lot of games. Some of them are God of War, Detroit Become Human, Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man, Until Dawn, The Last of Us, Days Gone, Uncharted, Heavy Rain, Ghost of Tsushima, and etc. That's another reason why PlayStation players hate Xbox, because of the lack of exclusive games. Now the funny thing is that PC is getting almost half of these exclusive games. Looks like these PlayStation exclusives are now exclusive. Moving on to the third reason, which is the main reason of this war, the community. It's the goddamn people. Mostly PlayStation players make some videos and post them on social media saying that Xbox players are gay or Xbox sucks. But when Xbox players make these videos, they usually say that all gamers are equal and this console war is already over. This console war is actually over, guys. Just take a look at this. Xbox and PlayStation's account are friendly to each other, but people are still not friendly toward other console players. They still carry hate for Xbox players and they call their Xbox as Gaybox. Now this triggers the Xbox players and they reply them by naming the PlayStation as GayStation. Keep in mind that I am not taking any sides in this war. I am already a member of PC Master Race. Now what I meant to say is that Xbox players are mature and they know that this console war is logicless. Meanwhile, PlayStation players are like kids that argue Xbox sucks. At least Xbox players know what good hardware is. Anyways, that's it for today. I had to make a short video today because I am getting a lot of homework from school and I have to complete it while uploading videos. It's gonna be difficult, but there's no other choice. Also, last week I didn't upload a video because I was busy doing this. So, thanks for watching this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel to see more content like this. Social media links will be in the description. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And now, I'll see you guys in my next video. Till then, stay safe and goodbye.